What if everything you avoid in yourself, the fear, the shame, the anger, isn't there to destroy you, but to guide you? What if the qualities you've spent years pushing away are actually the key to unlocking your purpose, your power, and your peace? Today, we're diving into one of the most transformative ideas in all of psychology and philosophy, Carl Jung's concept of the shadow, and how embracing it might be the most radical and liberating thing you ever do. Stick around until the end, because we're going beyond just theory. By the final moments, you'll have a new lens through which to see yourself, and a practical roadmap to move forward, not in spite of your darkness, but because of it. Carl Jung, one of the founding fathers of modern depth psychology, introduced the idea of the shadow as the part of ourselves we repress, deny, or hide. It's the version of you that exists in the background, the traits you've learned to push away because they didn't fit the image of who you were supposed to be. Maybe you were told as a kid not to get angry, so you buried your rage. Maybe you were laughed at for being emotional, so you learned to go numb. Or perhaps you were shamed for being too bold, too loud, too different, so you dimmed your light to make others comfortable. But here's the twist. The shadow doesn't disappear. It doesn't vanish just because we stop looking at it. Instead, it goes underground, unconscious. And from there, it starts to shape our choices, our relationships, even our identity. Ever overreacted to something small and later wondered, why did that bother me so much? That's your shadow talking. It's the moment you judge someone harshly without really understanding why. Or when you find yourself attracted to, or triggered by, someone who embodies a trait you've buried in yourself. Let's say someone is extremely confident and it irritates you. Chances are, that's not about them. It's about you. It could be that deep down, there's a part of you that wants to own your confidence, but you've been told it's arrogant. So you project your discomfort onto them. Jung called this projection, when we see in others what we haven't yet owned in ourselves. So, what do we do with this knowledge? Denying the shadow keeps us stuck. But bringing it into the light, integrating it, opens the door to real transformation. Integration doesn't mean acting on every impulse or indulging every dark thought. It means acknowledging what's there, recognizing that these aspects are part of your humanity. Not shameful intrusions, but signals, messages, unheard voices trying to guide you back to wholeness. Jung believed that healing and growth don't come from striving to be good or perfect. They come from becoming whole, and wholeness only happens when we stop splitting ourselves into parts, one acceptable, the other hidden. Now, let's go deeper. Here's a question most people don't think to ask. What if your shadow is the compass to your life's purpose? Think about it. Your greatest insecurities often sit right next to your greatest gifts. The part of you that feels too much might be your source of charisma. The thing you're most afraid to express could be the very thing others need to hear from you. Here's an example. Let's say someone has always felt ashamed of being deeply emotional. They grow up learning to keep a straight face, to stay strong. But that emotional depth, it might actually be their superpower. It could be the foundation of their art, their writing, their ability to connect with others. By rejecting it, they reject a part of their calling. Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are, not who you pretend to be, not the mask, but the whole, integrated self." So, how do you start integrating your shadow? 1. Pay attention to your emotional triggers. Strong reactions are often clues. Instead of blaming the external world, ask, what is this really touching in me? 2. Practice radical self-honesty. Write down your judgments, your fears, your fantasies, even the ones you're ashamed of. Bring them into the light of your awareness. 3. Use journaling and dream work. Jung considered dreams the language of the unconscious. What symbols keep showing up? What patterns emerge? Your shadow often communicates through metaphor. 4th, dialogue with your shadow. Literally have a conversation with it, on paper, in your imagination, in meditation. Ask, what do you want from me? What are you here to teach me? This isn't about indulging your shadow, it's about understanding it. Like a scared child acting out for attention, your shadow wants to be seen. And once it is, it calms down, it softens, it begins to work with you, not against you. Want to see your shadow clearly? Look at your relationships. We're constantly drawn to people who reflect what we need to confront. that toxic friendship, or recurring romantic pattern? Chances are, it's a mirror, showing you a part of yourself you haven't yet faced. This can feel uncomfortable, but it's also a gift. Each interaction becomes an opportunity to grow, not just react. When you realize this, conflict becomes less threatening and more enlightening. You start asking not, why is this happening to me, but what is this showing me about me? Let's take it even further. Your shadow is the root of your creativity. Think of every great artist, writer, or thinker you admire. They didn't avoid their darkness, they explored it. They turned it into music, film, poetry, activism. Frida Kahlo painted her pain. James Baldwin wrote his fury. Jung himself used art and journaling to explore his unconscious mind. Your shadow holds energy, and when you stop wasting it on suppression, you can reclaim it, redirect it, transform it into something that builds rather than breaks. Imagine what you could create if you stopped running from the most honest parts of yourself. Here's the ultimate truth Jung left us with. When you heal your shadow, you don't just heal yourself. You become part of a larger evolution of consciousness. A more integrated person is a more compassionate person. When you stop judging your own darkness, you become less likely to judge others for theirs. You stop needing to dominate, compete, or pretend. You become grounded, real, human, and that is how the world changes. Not through perfection, but through integration. So, let me ask you this. What parts of yourself have you been running from? What emotions or desires have you labeled as wrong or too much? And what if, just what if, those very things held the blueprint to your highest self? Shadow work isn't easy, but it's sacred. It's the path of courage, of authenticity, of freedom. This isn't just philosophy, it's an invitation to live more honestly, more fully, more you. Take that first step. Look inward, and remember, the darkness you fear might just be the light you haven't yet learned to see. Thank you for being here on this journey. If this message spoke to you, share your thoughts in the comments. Let's grow together. Until next time, stay curious, stay conscious, and stay true.